Good morning, Shamila madam.
Madam, good morning, madam. Good morning.
Madam, anybody else has to start or we'll start? Anybody else has to join?
No, madam. Time 10:30 we will start, madam.
3 minutes we'll wait and start.
Okay. Okay, madam.
Shamila madam, can we start?
Madam, can we start, madam?
Okay, madam. Okay. Thanks. Pavai, we can start, Pavai.
Yes, ma'am.
A grateful mind is a great mind, which eventually attracts to itself great things. Good morning to one and all present here for the second day session 1 of Virtual Faculty Development Program on Outcome-Based Education, organized by Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University in association with Dr. MGR Education and Research Institute, Faculty of Education and Academic Staff College. A gracious welcome to you all. I would also welcome to all the executives, heads, professors, faculty members, research scholars from various states and countries. Now I request Mrs. J. Vigneshwari, Assistant Professor, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, to deliver welcome address.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
The beautiful thing about learning is nobody can take it away from you. With this note, happy morning to anyone present here for the second day of the 5-day International Online Faculty Development Program on Outcome-Based Education. On behalf of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, in association with the Dr. MGR Education Research Institute, Faculty of Education and Academic Staff College, we extend a gracious welcome to one and all present here. With tremendous pleasure, we would like to welcome our speaker, Professor Dr. K. Chalamani, Dean, School of Education, Pondicherry University, Pondicherry. Hearty welcome to you, ma'am. We are waiting to know more about the topic core competencies and performance indicators. Once again, hearty welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Now, next, it's time to welcome our participants. We have received more than over 1,030 responses from all across India and several countries, which was quite impressive. We are extremely delighted to receive such enthusiastic responses. All your presence here today reflects your commitment to professional development. Hence, it's our duty to welcome all the executives, heads, professors, faculty members, research scholars from various states and countries. Next, it's our duty to extend heartfelt gratitude to our chief patrons, co-patrons, conveners, organizing secretaries, joint secretaries, technicians, teaching and non-teaching staffs of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University and Dr. MGR Education Research Institute for their encouragement and support provided to make this event possible. Finally, I'd like to extend my best wishes to each and every one of you for a fruitful and rewarding experience throughout this faculty development program. May it serve as a catalyst for your personal and professional growth. Together, let us strive for excellence in education and work towards creating a brighter future for the students. Once again, a congenial welcome to one and all present here.
Thank you, ma'am, for your glorious welcome address. Words may inspire, but action creates change. Now I invite Dr. P. Sendamal Pave, Assistant Professor, Dr. MGR Education and Research Institute, to introduce our chief guest, Professor Dr. K. Chalamani, Dean, School of Education, Pondicherry University, Pondicherry.
A dream doesn't
Ma'am,
Pave,
kindly
you are,
mute your mic, ma'am.
Pave, you are not audible.
A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. It's my pleasure, more than an honor, to introduce our resource person of today's session, Professor Dr. K. Chalamani, Dean, School of Education, Pondicherry University, Pondicherry. Her area of interest in neuroscience-based teaching and learning and experiments in educational research. She has published 70 peer-reviewed journals, 6 book chapters, and edited 3 books. She has been an author for self-learning material on Science of Education for the course MA in Education, Mother Teresa University. She was one of the authors for English textbook published by Tamil Nadu Textbook Corporation for Standard 7th and 8th. Having achieved remarkable success, our chief guest remains grounded and committed to giving back to the community. To add a feather on her cap, she has received 2 times NCERT Award, Broad Outlook Learner Award from The Hindu, and 1 International Publication Award in Vidya Bhavan. It's a privilege to have such a knowledgeable person in the midst of us. I'm immensely pleased to welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ma, and very good morning to everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome, madam.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am, for your brief introduction, Pavai, ma'am. To be inspired is great, but to be an inspiration is an honor. I immensely pleased to welcome Professor Dr. K. Chalamani, Dean, School of Education, Pondicherry University, Pondicherry. Now the session is yours, ma'am, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ma. I'm very happy to be here. Again, good morning to everyone, the organizers, as well as the participants. I am very happy to be part of this FDP on outcome-based education. Every curriculum is designed on the expected outcome of the learners concerned, whatever the level may be. First of all, the teachers at every level need to understand the vision, the objectives, and the transaction design provided by the curriculum. For the curriculum, that is outcome-based curriculum. It gives clarity to the teachers to know what is given, to whom should I do what, and how should I achieve those objectives specified. Generally, it focuses on knowledge development, skill acquisition, and the values and beliefs to be constructed. As we are committed to create future professional teachers, because both the organizers or the future professional teachers, their competencies are more comprehensive and humanistic. It demands initially the teacher educator to imbibe everything required personally, and then only we can transact among the becoming teachers. In line with these, I am here to orient the participants. Hope you're all ready. Again, I like to tell you that here I have 2 sessions, and depending upon the time, I cut short the slides. That is, first session, let us all know about the policy frameworks and the recommendations on outcome-based education or outcome-based curriculum, or we can say, and the second session, what are the different practices suitable for the outcome-based curriculum to adopt for the expected performance and the performance indicators. Now I go for the slide share. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So the title given to me today is Developing Core Competencies and Performance Indicators. First, I request all the participants to keep your mind. That is, where are we? Who are we? That is teacher education. Whatever the change of policy or the other thing, first thing we must know is what is that curriculum framework talks about. Here I have taken National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education 2009 framework, and based on that, here I am to talk about the expected core competencies for a becoming teacher and the performance indicators. As I said earlier, the participants should understand that to make a professional teacher, we should first of all become a professional teacher. On the basis of it, I believe that you are all ready to listen. I'll proceed. This one title, that is one quote from UNESCO I have taken, which is very, very meaningful here. The research has shown that teachers, more than any other constituent group in education, determine educational quality and student learning outcomes. Due to their proximity to students, well-trained teachers can strengthen scientific and critical thinking skills, promote tolerance, encourage dialogue, improve gender equity, advance important cultural and social values, and create a more sustainable and peaceful world. This is very comprehensive. That is comprehensive on the curriculum as well as the competencies, that is critical thinking skills, tolerance, dialogue, having the attitude of gender equity and cultural and social values, and create a more sustainable and peaceful world. With this, we just look into all the policy perspectives. That is, I always go with the European Commission's observations as well as the UNESCO's. Here, OECD, that Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that is European Commission, they always do, that is PISA, that is Program for International Student Assessment, and they have come out with one kind of findings, and you all know that Finland is among all other countries, Finland always happened to be glorified for education. So in this globalized world, everyone is aware of what and how of learning. It is mandatory for education to be aware of the educational policies. So I have come over here, and regarding that Finland, they say that In one PISA document, they say that though there are many factors behind its success, it is ascertained that it is largely due to Finland's highly trained, professional and respected teachers. In Finland, teaching is a prestigious career and the Finnish society puts trust in education and teachers. They are highly qualified, requiring at least a master's degree for full-time employment, and job section is a rigorous process with only the best candidates chosen for teacher training. So even for training, teacher training, they choose only the best. Teachers have high competence in content knowledge and pedagogy and are autonomous and reflective academic experts. In this context, my appreciations to the organizers of this FDP on outcome-based education, which is the need of the hour. Now, a quick glance at the quotes of educational experts at the UNESCO level gives us an understanding of what curriculum should mean in its practices. They recommend relevant and real-world learning activities. They say any curriculum must be relevant to the lives of the students. Connect students' experiences to real-world problems. Realize the connection between what they are learning and real-world issues that matter to them, their motivation source, and so does their learning. Learning tasks should be authentic. It is for the teachers. Personalized, experiential, learner-driven and designed, and enable the creation of content and innovative ideas by learners. Combine education and entertainment or use of the latest technological devices. More active learning, more relevant curricula, more real-world learning, and better trained teachers will improve the quality of education overall and increase student engagement. To look outside schools and seek ideas, resources, and expertise where they are found in their communities, in professional and educational groups, and in individuals, schools, and organizations around the world. So this has given us a holistic picture of what is outcome-based education, or otherwise what is outcome-based curriculum should be. Here, I just give you the details of outcome-based curriculum. That curriculum is designed on outcome. At this juncture, necessary to comprehend an outcome-based curriculum. To bring effectiveness in the curriculum, the outcomes need to be carefully identified. What do students need to learn? Why do they need to learn? Since the learners are in the center stage of any education, there is the need for relevant, competent teachers to operate outcome-based curriculum. In outcome-based curriculum or outcome-based education, students are expected to achieve the high standards. Then, every student in a group, a learner, is to be attended by the teacher until they have mastered in achieving the predefined outcomes that we all should be very carefully aware of what is the outcome and what is and how should I go with it. Then, every student must perform to an objective standard despite how their peers perform. Hence, the assessment pattern need not be static. It demands creative and dynamic assessments that exhibits students' understanding and the expected acquired skill. Hence, outcome-based education should encompass all the above elements in the planning stage. Such comprehensive outcome-based curriculum or education has its merits. First of all, both the teachers and the students are aware of desired outcome right from the beginning. Hence, the process will get properly tuned. I mean, process is very much needed, and that is what in NCFT 2009, they have given on page 55, what is product-based education and what is process-based curriculum or education. The process indicates that there is goal set, the pedagogy, the learner activity, and the assessment procedure will match each other and achievement will be well spelled out. there is more of reality and practicality than theory oriented. The flexibility, and especially for teacher education, there is a reality and flexibility is practicality, otherwise called, is very, very essential. The flexibility in qualitative and quantitative assessment provide room for success. A smooth, transparent, goal-oriented curriculum help the organization to reach its vision. All the above should be designed at the planning stage. Now, as we are all aware of NEP 2020, and we have to march towards in tune with NEP 2020, now let us see what it talks about. That is, NEP talks about the curriculum, which is learner-centric as well as designed for the future global citizens. It focuses on moving the education system towards real understanding and towards learning how to learn and away from the culture of rote learning as it is largely present today. The aim of education will not only be cognitive development, but also building character and creating holistic and well-rounded individuals equipped with the key 21st century skills. It calls for revamping the entire curriculum and pedagogy for learners to apply critical thinking and get solution for problems, develop creative and multidisciplinary attitude and innovative and adaptive and absorb new material in novel and changing fields. Accordingly, the pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, holistic, integrated, inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, discussion-based, flexible, and of course, enjoyable. I hope that you can relate it with what UNESCO said in the first slide I showed. In a nutshell, NEP 2020 stresses on integrated education, holistic development of the learners, and wishes the education system to move towards learning how to learn. Now, we have the latest National Higher Education Qualification Framework. And what does it talk about? We'll see. This NHEQF is an outcome-based framework for qualifications of different types. It envisages the award of qualifications based on the demonstrated achievement of the expected learning outcomes, the underline demonstrated learning outcome, especially for teachers, it is very, very essential, that specify what students completing a particular program of study associated with the chosen fields of learning, work, occasion, or expected to know. For example, from level 4, because they have given exit levels, level 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the level 4, that is from the certificate to level 10, that is for PhD, the attributes are defined like knowledge and understanding, skills required, generic learning outcomes, etc. This is what that NEP 2020 speaks. This would mean that each discipline has to define learning outcomes at each level through the courses they offer. So hope you have understood what UNESCO, OECD, as well as our NEP 2020 talks about learner-centric curriculum. That is, everybody talks about flexibility and integrated holistic development of the individual. Now let us come to see that, as I said in the beginning, what are the vision, objectives, and the process-based strategies. NCFTE, National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education, 2009 spoke on outcome-based curriculum, and this is the base, and on the basis of only the latest curriculum framework also has been framed. Now, I wish that every participant should be very clear about the vision of teacher education. So they have given 4 visions. Number 1, they say teacher education is integrative and eclectic. What does it mean? It is not a prescriptive endeavor. That is, teacher education is not prescriptive. So we cannot say these are the learning outcomes, these are the strategies, and these are the predetermined framework for evaluation, assessment. Prescriptive endeavor, rather it is open and flexible. The aim is to empower the teacher to relate himself or herself to the changing context. It is very, very essential. Now, the second vision. Modern teacher education functions under a global canvas created by the concepts of learning society, learning to learn, and inclusive education. I hope that the three terms have also come again and again in NEP 2020 also. The concern is to make teacher education liberal, humanistic, and responsive to the demands of inclusive education. To make it very clear, I tell you for the second, the emphasis is in teaching, and it is not didactic communication, but on non-didactic and dialogical exploration. So no dictation, no instructions. Everything is through dialogues, which the UNESCO in the first slide itself speaks about. And the third vision is multicultural, that is modern cultural education, that is modern pedagogy derives its inspiration more from sociological and anthropological insights on education. There is increasing recognition of the worth and potential of social context as a source for rejuvenating teaching and learning. Multicultural education and teaching for diversity are the needs of contemporary times. And we are coming to the last vision, fourth one, that is the existence of a diversity of learning spaces for learners and curriculum sites like farm, workplace, home, community, and media apart from the classroom. So classroom is not the only place where learning will occur. Other than that, there are many fields for teacher to learn. We also appreciate the diversity of learning styles that children exhibit and learning context in which teachers have to function. Oversized classrooms may be there, language, different language is there, ethnicity varies, and social divergence, children suffering disadvantages of different kinds. These are all coming under inclusive. Lastly, we realize that the tentative and fluid nature of the so-called knowledge base of teacher education. This makes reflective practice the central aim of teacher education. Throughout in the report, they are talking about reflective practice only in that document. Pedagogical knowledge has to be constantly undergo, see, underline, constantly undergo adaptation to meet the needs of diverse contexts through critical reflection by the teacher on his or her practices. Teacher education needs to build capacities in the teacher to construct knowledge, to deal with the different context, and to develop the abilities to discern and judge in moments of uncertainty and fluidity characteristic of teaching and learning environments. Now, is it clear to the participant? I like to know, madam, organizers, in what line I'm going? Are they following?
Yes, ma'am. NCTE 2009 on outcome-based curriculum.
Yeah, madam. Okay. Now, from the vision, let us see what does NCFT 2009 talks about outcome-based curriculum. So they say that it is to develop the future teachers, care. So these are the competencies we can say. Caring attitude on children and the society towards commitment to justice and zeal for social reconstruction. And this, you can call it as emotional competence. Then learning is to be viewed as a search for meaning out of personal experiences and knowledge generation as a continuously evolving process of reflective learning. So through reflection only, your learning will be very continuous. And teachers should integrate academic knowledge and professional learning into a meaningful whole. That's why we have, that is the 4 months of internship spaced throughout in the academic career, but none of the colleges follow what really the curriculum framework speaks on internship. That is very, very pathetic. And then engage with the curriculum, syllabi and textbooks to critically examine them rather than taking them as given and accepted without question. So you can always question any learning outcome or anything given over there, because nothing is prescriptive. We have to relate it to the present and with the audience to whom we are dealing with. Then reflect and do. Independent study without packing the training schedule with teacher-directed activities alone. So I always say to my students that there is no formula for your lesson plan. It all depends upon the competency you focus to achieve in your students and the content, the so-called tool you have and how you make it. It depends upon your creativity and innovation. So there is no prescriptive formula at all. Then understand the psychosocial attributes and needs of learners, their special abilities and characteristics, their preferred mode of cognition, motivation, and learning resulting from home and community socialization. It varies from place to place. Even in Chennai, you have different spaces, a coastal area, city area, and there are so many, and it all varies depending upon the location, the students, the learners. And then develop social sensitivity and consciousness and finer human sensibilities. Very important. Social sensitivity is a competency. Consciousness, competency. And finer human sensibilities. Very, very essential. These are the outcome-based competencies. Now, comprehensive evaluation protocol with due place for the evaluation and attitude, values, dispositions, habits, and hobbies, in addition to the conceptual and pedagogical aspects, through appropriate quantitative as well as qualitative parameters. So this can be achieved. That is, we have seen many objectives of teacher education, their evaluation protocol, and how should it be. That's what I mean it here. That is comprehensive evaluation protocol. So you have asked for predetermined performance indicators. It cannot be. So it has to be fit into what strategy or the curriculum we are following in each place of that. So this could only be achieved if a teacher education curriculum provides appropriate and critical opportunities for student teachers to observe. That is, all the students should be provided opportunity to observe and engage with children, communicate with and relate to children. Are we doing it in their internship, or are we doing in the teacher education B.Ed colleges? That we have to question. Are we allowing them to observe and engage? And we are literally taking the content, and people say that the syllabus is too big. I never accept that. You can make it very simple based on your innovative thoughts, linking the outcome and the strategies. Then understand the self and the others. That is, the teacher as a self and others as a student. One's beliefs, assumptions, emotions, and aspirations. Develop the capacity for self-analysis, self-evaluation, adaptability, flexibility, creativity, and innovation. So every classroom should have these things, and it could be possible only through think aloud protocol and reflective practice, which we discuss in the coming slides. Then develop habits and the capacity for self-directed learning. Have time to think, reflect, assimilate, and articulate new ideas, be self-critical, and to work collaboratively in groups. So no individual in the classrooms, they can be in teams or groups. So engage the students, learners, or the teacher, future teachers, or the groups with subject content, examine disciplinary knowledge and social realities, relate subject matter with the social milieu of learners, that is each part of Tamil Nadu only I said, and develop critical thinking and develop professional skills in pedagogy, observation, documentation, analysis and interpretation, drama, craft, storytelling, and reflective inquiry. Now, we can look out into the NCFT 2009 curriculum design. So here, NCFT 2009 envisages the above in the curriculum, that is the objectives, the competencies, whatever we discussed in the previous slide, in its curriculum framework. That is, it has 5 chapters in the curriculum framework and very carefully crafted the curriculum design. It gives concrete suggestions on how the education of teachers can be redesigned to focus on the learner, to provide a greater space for the personal, social, and professional development of the teacher. Then equip them, that is each individual, to evolve pedagogical approaches and create a learning environment that address the needs of learners. Then, through the process of weaving theoretical knowledge across multiple disciplines with the student teachers' own experiential realities and learners' social milieu, then teachers can be prompted to reflect, develop habits of self-learning and independent thinking. This is very, very essential. Before we get into the layout, I just underline a sustained engagement with educational practice and theory will enable student teachers to generate knowledge and continuously seek clarity of ideas. The layout of the curriculum for teacher education can be conceived as comprising 3 broad curricular areas. That is foundations of education. I just see that how they have organized it. Foundations of education, which include courses under 3 broad rubrics, namely learner studies, contemporary studies, and educational studies. Curriculum and pedagogy, which include courses under 2 broad rubrics, namely curriculum studies and pedagogic studies, and school internship, leading to the development of a broad repertoire of studies, that is called a perspective, professional capacities, and teacher sensibilities and skills. In total, these areas make up the common core curriculum for teacher education program across stages. There are 3 stages. That is called preschool, elementary, secondary, and senior secondary. Yet every stage specific components has its specific nature and form. You all know that is what elementary and secondary, nature and form. Similarly, teacher preparation. So in the same way, we have to prepare the teachers also according to the expectation of each level. Learning experiences to be provided depending upon the learner context and other factors. That learner context, I mean, that is elementary school children only, I mean. Despite the specificity, each stage, specific components has its link with the other stage, and the student teachers need to have comprehension over the above for becoming a professional teacher. Why I make it is, even in the report, in the cover page, you see, becoming a professional teacher only. That is the focus, major vision of NCFT 2009. Now, the nature and form which these 4 competencies may take and the quantum, intensity, their relative importance, quality of learning experiences to be provided under them, and their relative importance may, however, vary with reference to the stage of teacher preparation, the school and learner context, and other factors of the location also. It is very important that they should not be looked upon as independent and separate curricular areas, but as interconnected, feeding each other networks social, and the total development of the teacher. I hope that you are all following me, organizers. Organizers,
Yes,
please.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right. Even in
We are
between,
following, ma'am.
anybody can question me or stop me. Therefore, we should here, we have, after looking into the vision, the curriculum framework and the competencies and other things, it is our prime duty to understand what is the responsibility of a teacher. Therefore, we have to here rethink the content and objectives of teacher education and training. Teachers need to be trained to facilitate learning, to understand diversity. In between, I take me tea, please. To be inclusive, and to design and to develop competencies for living together and for protecting and improving the environment. They must foster classroom environments that are respectful and secure, encourage self-esteem and autonomy, and use a wide range of pedagogical and dialogical strategies. Now here we have to look into one thing. Today's classrooms are very different. I just met one head of the institution, a father in Pondicherry. He says that how comfortable students are very casual they are with all drugs which are available outside like a toffee. Now such classrooms, our responsibility is very greater. Then teachers, for other teachers, now for the benefit of the school as a whole, teachers should know their students and their families and be able to relate teaching to the specific context. They should be able to choose relevant content matter and use it productively in the development of competencies. They should use technology together with other materials as instruments for learning. Teachers should be encouraged to continue learning and developing professionally. Therefore, these are our responsibility how to take it over. Now, before we think into, we should just, I like to give a brushing up, where are we? So we are in the digital era. Student teachers must have sufficient knowledge and skills to handle information and transform into knowledge, learn to learn and continue learning. Learn to learn I make because it has been underlined from all the reports, UNESCO, even in the NEP, learn to learn. That is our prime duty, and continue learning throughout their lives. They need to master ICT used in society and be able to locate information and process it so that it becomes knowledge. This new society where we are now requires flexible organizational structures in higher education. These structures must enable access to knowledge and critical personal training to promote interpretation of information and generation of own knowledge. Institutions must design learning situations which favor the acquisition of knowledge. It is our responsibility. Knowledge, skills, and attitudes that form part of the set of competencies in the training profile. In order to manage in this new scenario, teachers will have to master, that is, we should master new competencies and skills. And I can give you what are the framework which is suggested by educational experts. That is, I have consolidated here. That is the competencies. First, we should have the competency, then we can expect the students. Learning to learn, to know one's own style of learning, be open to new learning techniques and new knowledge, and want to learn with confidence in oneself. Then apply new knowledge to practice. We must see the connection between theory and practice and put knowledge into action. Question and reason. Be aware that Change is continuous. Permanently want to improve procedures and processes and never be satisfied with the status quo. Then administer oneself information. Administer information. What is that? That establish realistic goals, recognize the divide between reality and what is being proposed, and know how to close it, and continuously develop personal skills. And then communication skills. Express oneself clearly, orally, and in writing in formal and informal situations, convince others and listen to others. We know that academic writing and communication skills. Then work as part of a team. We must share information and knowledge, receive information and knowledge, and participate in setting goals and achieving common objectives. Every institution should do that. Individual goals as well as common. The individual goal, I tell you that each teacher has to have one philosophy for each batch depending upon the subject we are teaching. Then problem solving skills. It involves creativity and innovation. Then adaptability and flexibility. We face change confidently, adapts to new situations and tasks, and be ready to change one's personal direction. Then ongoing learning. See, ongoing learning is lifelong learning, permanent updating of personal skills and competencies, and celebrate the habit of learning. If only we teachers have the attitude for learning and enjoy learning, we can update with a present requirement as well as present update in the society, in the digital era and other things. Now, the competencies include set of knowledge, abilities, skills, attitudes required to understand, express, and appropriately regulate emotional phenomena and are structured in 5 dimensions. They are emotional awareness. I have consolidated here. These are the highlights. Emotional awareness, emotional regulation, emotional autonomy, that is called self-management, and social competence, life skills, and well-being, which in turn can be subdivided into more specific components. The concept of competence embraces knowledge, know-how, and knowing how to be. I underline knowledge, know-how, and knowing how to be. Here, the latest we have to update, that is Education 5.0 is the use of new knowledge, new technologies to provide more harmonized teaching with a focus on students' social and emotional development and solutions that improve life in society. So every participant, I request you be aware of what is Education 5.0 and what is Web 5.0. Web 5.0 insists on new emotional competence. Although affections, feelings, and emotions have been gaining relevance in society and scientific thought for more than a decade now, in the future, we will be dealing with a sensory emotive web that is called 5.0, sensory emotive web. And more than ever before, there will be a deep need for teachers to use and promote intra and interpersonal emotional competencies. Teaching faculty need to develop emotional competences and transmit them to their students in order to produce graduates who will be more adaptable to new socio-professional contexts. So in detail, I like to tell you what are those. Those 5, you see the components of each 5. That is self-awareness, emotional awareness, correct self-evaluation, self-confidence, self-regulation, self-control. Then awareness, that is adaptability according to the we be aware and then procure adaptability, innovation, motivation, impulse to achieve, and commitment initiative. Then optimism. Have optimism, and that asks you to have empathy, understanding others, developing others' guidance service, promoting diversity, political awareness. Then social skills, influence, communication, conflict management, leadership, and catalyst for change. Link builder, collaboration and cooperation, and above all, always have team spirit. That is very, very essential. I believe that you accept without emotion, without awareness, without optimism, without social skills, we cannot have any kind of our development and we cannot be teachers. Then we see what is emotional competence. This personal emotional competence refer on the one hand to self-improvement skills such as self-knowledge, self-esteem, self-control, motivation, creativity, the ability to change or take decisions, and on the other, relationship skills such as empathy, the ability to establish appropriate communication, to work in a team, to solve conflict, to analyze the needs of society or markets, to be a leader in different social situations. At some point in the near future, it is expected that communication and emotional education will interweave. Consequently, competence training rather than just the exercise of knowledge and training. So don't think that the knowledge I have to transfer from the syllabus. So just the exercise of knowledge and training in order to be able to act in complex contexts. It will also require the mobilization of emotional resources and strategies. And teachers are very, very emotional bound profession. To achieve teaching success through the web, it will no longer be sufficient to have a high intellectual coefficient or broad technical knowledge. Teachers must be able to develop abilities such as self-knowledge, self-mastery, zeal and persistence, the ability to motivate themselves and to achieve results together with others, I underline. This is where the term emotional intelligence comes into play, gathered, and it is given by Goldman. Although stemming from the work by Mayer first, and then Goldman elaborated. According to these authors, emotional intelligence consists in the ability to manage feelings and emotions, discriminate between them, and use this knowledge to direct one's own thoughts and actions. Thus, the skills required for emotional intelligence are related to outcomes in the personal and professional spheres and in daily life in general, and they constitute models of competence. And some experts, they have in particular mixed models of emotional intelligence that include broader competencies of socio-emotional nature. It is therefore easy to appreciate the importance of these emotional competence in the educational context of higher education or university education. So teachers will need both general and emotional, general and systematic emotional teaching competencies that start up and exercise affective and emotional aptitudes, emotional attitudes, values, and strategies to activate, deal with, and self-regulate that are both general and systematic with the ultimate aim of teaching. To self-regulate, general with the ultimate aim of extending their applicability from any professional context to the students' own lives. Now, the first session I just highlighted from UNESCO through OECD and end up with NEP 2020, what all the policies are focusing on our education system, and on the basis of it, what is the vision and objectives, learner outcome and learner expectations from NCFT 2009 framework I have discussed. Now I just proceed with how it can be operated at the end, that is from teachers. And as you have asked that performance indicators, let us see that what performance indicators really mean. That is, performance indicators refer to the various type of performance measurement. Underline performance measurement teachers. The student teachers have been provided with activities and their active participation, the strategies they adopt and the outcome they produce speaks volume on the teacher proficiency of the individual. The outcome or the result focuses on operational improvement, create an analytical basis for decision making, and hence choosing the right key performance indicator relies on a good understanding of what is important for the individual. Rather, we would say these are performance improvement initiatives. That is, looking at the performance, we again proceed for developmental. Based on the observation, the teacher educators predict the consequences and decide for future actions. The observed values can be measured both quantitative and qualitatively. Quantitative data is measured against a standard, whereas qualitative analysis represents descriptively. Let us see what quantitative and qualitative mode can be. Here, I don't know why this table doesn't come. That is performance and assessment modes. And what I have designed, I just speak it over. The content, I don't understand that why they are not coming here. But I like to tell you that this performance indicators, I have taken it as knowledge, procedures, and then values, as we all see. So attitudes and dispositions. That is, performance is knowledge. What is knowledge based? And then that assessment models, I just tell you that is facts. What are the assessment models? Knowledge, when we say it is about facts, concepts, or mental models. Mental models related to the content being taught. And assessment practices. What are the assessment practices for assessing the knowledge component? You all know MCQs or pre-test, post-test to find out the effectiveness of the instruction. Think aloud protocols. Think aloud protocols, in the coming slide, I talk about it. Essays, reports, interviews are structured and scored analytically using criteria and scoring rubrics. That practices demonstrate focuses on the implementation of learning skills. And researchers have measured conceptual knowledge and synthesis by asking learners to generate or fill in how main concepts may be organized into integrative cases or fill in summary matrices, short form questions, essay type questions. There are many we are all familiar with. That is, teachers' cognitive feedback on their think aloud promotes. And here again, I tell you, we are not simply leaving questioning and then evaluating the answers. Rather, it has to go with think aloud protocols, which promote self-regulation and instantiation of general principles that are likely to cut across different academic domains. Domains you all know, that is, literally speaking, cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, and affective domain, and all the three are there in teacher education. And the next performance I'm talking about is procedures. Procedures is performance and teaching practice we have. And we know that how they should perform as a teacher. So how do you assess? That is assessment models of thinking skills, strategies. That is, what is the thinking of the teacher? So here we can get generating inferences, self-regulatory procedures, metacognitive monitoring, or content-based procedural skills, selecting the appropriate statistical analysis. These things, later on, I'll give you some illustrations where you will understand. And these things, how we can have the assessment practices, that is called frequency of checklists of generic problem solving tests that evaluate general thinking skills such as generating inferences and drawing conclusions, and also to assess self-regulatory skills. Then observation of how a student uses a skill, inferences made about use of the skill in a complex assessment environment, scores from standardized thinking skill tests, or which you are all very familiar, are self-reported use of strategies using think alouds or checklists, observation-based problem solving that can be scored with rubrics created to assess a variety of thinking skills at different level of proficiency. Now, how to assess the thinking skill during real-time problem solving? You may know that is in the observation, the lab and everything. So one approach has been to use learning traces, underline learning traces. That is, it includes observable records of an individual's ongoing learning. That is, understanding the thinking process of the individual. It can be used to make inferences about self-regulation behavior, the amount of time individuals spend on a task, that is reading a passage, we can allow them to reading a passage, or on a specific information within a passage, we can question them. A diagram or pictorial model also can be used, often provides valuable information about duration, that is how much time they are taking to read and then infer, and perhaps intensity of engagement, how much they show interest in interest, and their involvement also can be checked. This through learning traces. Then other thing is eye tracking devices. It provides useful information about what individuals attend to. We all know that we can study individual through their eyes. So this eye traces also, this is another way of telling technically eye tracking. This device also provide useful information about what individuals attend to, what are they attending, how long they do so. Other examples of traces include underlining external notes and diaries. Diaries are their expressions of their thoughts only that we can take. Real-time problem solving has been studied using think aloud and reflection, as well as simulated problems. So we can give problems and we ask them to think aloud, to speak aloud how they are solving, and we can understand. And think aloud provide extremely rich data. And I have been practicing for years together. And about online processes, because we are all familiar with that, construction of mental models, even though they are time intensive and may interfere with other online activities. Another approach is to examine note taking. You are familiar, using e-logs, which provides a wealth of data regarding what learners perceive to be important. Then the structure of notes also may reveal how deeply a learner understands information. A learner strategy is to examine interactions between a learner and a computer-based tutor that provides feedback and assessment. This type of data is specifically helpful when considering the effectiveness of competing auto-tutoring program. Checklist or self-report. Checklist typically includes strategies and skills that were included within an instructional invention. In this case, the individual simply indicates whether she or he used the skill and how often the skill was used. An alternative approach is for students to record or desirable the strategy used as they work. This approach is very useful for understanding online processing and regulation of learning. Another alternative is to use self-report inventories that assess the skills and self-regulatory strategies used during learning. Now, the third last one, I am talking about attitudes and dispositions. Very sorry, I have made one table. I don't know why it is not visible. Attitudes and dispositions. So knowledge, performance, and the third one is attitudes and dispositions. Attitude, the assessment models. Attitudes about thinking skills, instruction, or skill implementation, or dispositions that predispose students to learn and use skills. Then here assessment practices high self-efficacy within a domain. The domains, you know, the three domains. High self-efficacy within a domain has a strong positive relationship between engagement, persistence, and performance. on any task. We should know these three things in a student: engagement, persistence, and task. Self-efficacy often is a better cognition, whether they withdraw or continue, that we must observe. Provide predictors of engagement and performance. And we have to have some kind of measure to see their involvement. In addition, questionnaires that measure metacognitive knowledge or self-regulation may be significantly related to performance as well. I have given certain illustrations at the end of the slides. Researchers have found that beliefs in mastery orientations, mastery of the content, orientations, attributions, personal epistemology, and ontology are important predictors of engagement and performance. In addition, questionnaires that measure metacognitive knowledge or self-regulation may be significantly related to performance as well. Other than the quantitative data, now these things I have discussed on quantitative data. What are the measures we can use, that is checklists and other things, whatever I have discussed on assessment practices, we can collect the knowledge, acquisition of achievement of knowledge, acquisition of skill, and the constructed values and attributes. And these things can be observed through reflections and think aloud, and which are very, very essential. That's why NCTE insists on reflective practice and portfolio documentation in its policy document. Now, here I would like to know how to do with illustrations. Now, the coming part of the slide for 25 minutes, I just like to say and then show the practices I have been doing. I hope the teachers all follow what I really mean it. Is it observers, organizers? Organizers, please.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I am coming to the point how reflective practice can be operated, which involves think aloud also. Now, Plato has said, know thyself can lead to a lifelong investigation. That is what we saw, awareness. And John Dewey said, we do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. You know what happened, what did I do, how should I, what should I have done it? Like questions we definitely have in any experience. That's what Dewey says. Then he also says, active, persistent, and careful consideration of any belief or supposed form of knowledge, the light of the grounds that support it, and the further conclusions to which it tends. Now, these quotations talk about the understanding of what should we do. Reflection. Now, I just try to highlight, reflection is a form of mental process. It is a form of thinking. Dewey defined reflective thought as active, persistent, careful consideration of any belief of the individual or supposed form of knowledge the individual gained in the light of the grounds that support it and further conclusions to which it tends. He set out 5 phases or aspects, these states of thinking, and they are as follows. 5 phases. He says, suggestions, in which the mind leaps forward to a possible solution. That is, we do suggest in our thinking. Then an intellectualization of the faculty, intellectualization of the difficulty or perplexity that has been felt, directly experienced into a problem to be solved. Then the use of, that is our suggestion, one suggestion after another. Hope you know that we think, shall I do this way or that way? That is called suggestions here. I mean, the use of one suggestion after another as a leading idea or hypothesis to initiate and guide observation and other operations in collection of factual material. Then the mental elaboration, that is, we have got 2 or 3 suggestions, and our mental elaboration of the idea or supposition as an idea or supposition, that is reasoning, in the sense in which reasoning is a part, not the whole, of inference. So inference, our reasoning is in parts only. Then we have hypothesis, testing the hypothesis by overt or imaginative action. Now we get back to some other experts, and what do they say? They say in 3 different things in a crisp way. They addressed emotions as recapture their experience. Recapture their experience, think about it, mull it over, and evaluate it. And they say those 5 into 3. They say returning to experience, that is, say recalling or detailing salient events. Then attending to or connecting with feelings. Always experience has emotions. With emotion only any learning happens. So always emotion goes with cognition. Cognition is not an isolated entity. Without any emotion of yours, you recall, think, and then you will understand. Every learning of yours have one kind of emotions. This has 2 aspects. Using helpful feelings and removing or containing obstructive ones. We just, something is blocked means remove and proceed. And evaluating experiences. This involves re-examining experience in the light of one's intent and existing knowledge, etc. It also involves integrating this new knowledge into one's conceptual framework. What I here mean is, that is how reflection helps you to have knowledge, skill, and development of values. We have experience with emotion, and we do have hypothesis in solving any problem, and how do we proceed? That is what Dewey said 5, and here these authors have said 3. Now, the simplest way, I am talking here about Sean's contribution on reflection, because it is very easy to follow. I do follow his pattern, his model. His great contribution has been to bring the notion that ideas of reflection in, that is, during the process of your experience or action, and on action, that is after doing. One simple example I tell you, while you are writing an exam, an individual writing an exam, we do think about what have I learned, am I writing here what I have learned, relating it to the expected question. This is reflection in action. After the exam, students will come out and they discuss, for this questions, what did you write? What have I written? They do discuss. That is called reflection on action. The same thing happens for every action. In the case of the former, one allows himself to experience surprise, puzzlement, or confusion in a situation which he finds uncertain or unique. He reflects on the phenomena before him and on the prior understandings which have been implicit in his behavior. He carries out an experiment which serves to generate both a new understanding of the phenomena and a change in the situation. This is reflection in action. And reflection on action is done later. The act of reflecting. Oh, sorry, my hand. So the act of reflecting on, it enables us to spend time exploring why we acted as we did. Why did I do so? In doing so, we develop sets of questions and ideas about our activities and practices. That is, what, so what, now what? This is the model, great model. What, so what, now what? We go in detail. What did you do? So here, that what, the what component of reflections may include, that is while you are writing, what you are writing, what did I do? That what component of reflections may include the environmental factors in the situations I did. and the conditions or background under which we have learned, the assumptions that we entered the situations with, or description of the experience itself and the outcomes that occurred through the practice. Then you describe the experience. What did you do? This what component of reflection in environmental factors and other things. Then so what? So what? Describe it. What difference it makes? That is because of your action. It outlines what impact or meaning it has for you or why it should matter to others. The so what component of reflections may include relevancies to you as an individual, the degree of importance that this knowledge has to practices in the real world, how the experience has changed you, and the ways in which this experience relates to you as a professional in the field of education. So what? How is this learning important? Now the third one, now what? Okay, it happened. Now what? What is the consequence? It describes what is in store for the future now that you have learned from the experience. It outlines what you are going to do to continue your professional development in light of this learning. The now what component of reflections may include looking for future learning opportunities related to the one under consideration, mistakes that you are now prepared to avoid, situations that you are now prepared to take advantage of, an assessment of things that you as of yet do not know how to do but would like to, etc. This is learning out of the experience. You have done this, now what would you like to learn further? Okay, now teacher is a reflective practice. Now you have got the model. As a reflective practitioner, what to do, how to do writing a reflection. That is select what evidence artifacts. For example, if students are given many assignments, let them select that one which they can reflect upon. Then let them describe. The description they should write, why have I written, in what circumstances. So these things you recall what I have given earlier. Who was involved, what were the circumstances, concern and issues, when did the event occurred, where did the event occurred, and then you analyze it. This step involves digging deeper. The why of the evidence or artifact, that assignment, and the how of its relationship to your teaching practice should be addressed. Then appraisal. This is an appraisal, evaluation. In the previous 3 steps, you have described and analyzed an experience, a piece of evidence or an activity. The actual self-assessment occurs at this stage as you interpret the activity or evidence and evaluate its appropriateness and impact. This is what learning happens. And using that learning, we have to take steps to transform. That is, holds the greatest opportunity for growth as you use the insights gained from reflection in improving the transforming your practice. Always we should look upon what should I do further, how should I move, and here is the reflection process. Then when should I do? That is, when should I do reflection? Immediately after the lesson or experience, at the end of the school day, or during my planning period, first thing in the morning, Wednesday during my lunch period, anything you take, Tuesday with the students are in. Then where? It could be in your room, in your office, in the library, or at home. How? On the computer or reflective journal. Journals are there, available in the market. Sticky notes on the lesson, artifact, reflection sheets attached to evidence, verbal reflection on the video, audio tapes, etc. So this every teacher can practice and allow students to practice it. There are 9 dimensions of reflective practice. As time is too short, I'm just rushing. So what are the 9 dimensions of reflective practice? That is, first one, study. Study your teaching for personal improvement. That is, you reflect regularly. Evaluate your teaching using your research. Action research in your class, you would have done it. Link theory and practice. Use the literature. Every day you have lot of psychological learning theories, teaching theories, everything. Then question your personal theories and beliefs, critical analysis, and consider alternative perspectives and possibilities, and try out new strategies and ideas, innovation for the further classes, and maximize the learning potential of students. Inclusive practices allow the maximum, give resources, allow them to search, and then enhance the quality of your teaching. That is your effective practice, how you are making your classroom very vibrant, dynamic, and resourceful. And you continue improve your teaching, professional learning. Okay, now think aloud protocol. These reflective practice have think aloud protocols because all those things involve thinking only. How to do? Think aloud approach enables access to the thought process or decision making of someone performing a specific task. Okay, and think aloud, you always have some questions. And portfolio documentation, you document your lesson plans as a teacher or your preparation, or students, you ask them to document every expressions of their learning. Portfolios as the outcome of a continuous student-centered process help students learn in a variety of ways. One important outcome portfolio process in the classroom is increased student awareness of and responsibility for learning objectives. It is embedded in reflection of students on their work. And nowadays we have e-portfolio, and even e-portfolio you can have design like Google Classroom, Edmodo. There are many things which you use. You define the portfolio and context and goals you give initially to the students. Then working portfolio, you work on it, how the design of your classroom teaching and learning. The third one, reflective portfolio, that is allow students to reflect regularly on every day. I like this piece of my writing. Maybe they are writing or they're listening. In an assessment portfolio for each outcome, goal, or standard, they can focus their reflections on the following questions as we discussed earlier: what, so what, now what. And with the connected portfolio, you link each and everything learning. Don't leave anything as an isolated component. And the presentation portfolio, you have to have your final observation of maybe in a week's time. What have you learned, gained, your growth, everything you can make it into presentation portfolio. Now, this is one example of my classroom. This is called active, see 2009-10. This one and advanced methods of teaching, strategy, e-portfolio writing, objectives I had, understanding the content of the subject. This is learners, comprehending its application in their teacher perspectives, analyzing its relevance in today's classroom, reflecting on their progress, acquiring the skill of ICT and integrating it in their learning process. You must know that these objectives are designed by me as a teacher with a teaching philosophy for that classroom, for which how I have planned, action plan I had January, February, March, April, that is for one semester. And here setting the stage, teacher orientation and these things, and February, what have I given, and documenting, demonstrating, developing, illustrating, reflecting on the learning through mailing, and reflecting on the progress by computing their own activities, challenges encountered, and these things, researcher's role, that is mine as I am a researcher, developing a portal of portfolio, documenting students' artifacts and their reflections. Here I have given a tool, that is a reflection tool, that is my efforts in preparation of assignment, references, time I have taken, my plans for the classroom, demonstration, the technology, the support system I have selected, the strategy I have selected, the challenges I encountered. And about today's class, that is each one has one role in the class, and everybody has to observe and reflect upon, the teacher observe, the student himself reflect upon every day's presentation. What is the content about? How was the preparation? What did I gain today? What is my future goal? What is the progress? Here the signature of that particular candidate and the observer peer as well as the teacher. Teacher assessment group is so scores in the brackets, that is rightly tuned 3, expected guidance 2, needs attention 1. This is the rubric on the basis of the presentation. These are the rubrics given, scored, and finally they are all awarded. Now this is another model. This I have for teacher education institutions here in Pondicherry. I have told them how you can make. This is one model, that is, you see, children, these are all the papers in the columns. And in columns, what is the expected thing? Theories. And here transaction connections. And here I have given NCFT's process-based curriculum. And using process-based curriculum on the right side, and in the left column, what is the course about? in the center transaction, I have written how should it be, as I have discussed it. Visiting orphanage, setting up an exhibition, identifying clubs, health, like that, reflective writing, wallpaper. This is what I have designed a model to them. And here you see there are two dynamic processes to promote deep learning. This is e-portfolio development process. E-portfolio as a story of learning. Here you see you have selection, collection, reflection, direction, celebration. And this have what, so what, now what. This is what is on past, so what is on present, now what is on future. What direction do I want to? You will have it. And for these strategies, you see that one example here I have given on digital storytelling as reflective portfolio. One example here I have given, and as time doesn't perfect, here I just proceed. Here see a reflection on action pro forma. State the reason for your selection. There are many assignments. Student is asked to choose one assignment or artifact, and they have to state the reason for their selection. What did you take care for writing that assignment? What went well and not well? What help did you need? What did you learn from writing the assignment? Where do you feel that you need improvement? What measure would you take for improving a written composition next time? Did you enjoy writing the assignments? And here is, as I said, that self-awareness tool. Here, that is metacognition. I said, these are the things we can, one model, what I have done, here we can give, and then let them reflect upon their knowledge. Here, learning through portfolio, the merits, through process, what is the benefits? Valuable reflective exercise for students, tuning them towards self-assessment. Here, new depth and meaning is given to learning through the reflection process. Students taking control of their learning results in enhancement of self-esteem and self-confidence. You see, these are the competencies we looked into in the earlier slides. An assessment has got a new dimension. It is assessment of their learning and for their learning. This is it, of learning and for learning, and you go through what do these prepositions mean it. It may become more student-centered. The learner is involved and authorized to make decisions about will be evaluated, and recognition for individual learning abilities and preferences are given. And the practice in learning process, that is reflections, will be used lifelong and life-wide learning pursuits. So from the product, students will have a tool for personal development. Students will have a personal learning record. Students may receive credit for informal and non-formal learning as well as formal learning. Students will have a direction for career planning. Students will have a tool for feedback from teachers and peers, because those examples you understand. Feedback in the form of comments as opposed to marks. Students will have a concrete way of showcasing strengths and teachers, and students may have needed documentation for prior learning assessment for program credits. Students may receive credit towards a course completion or towards graduations, and students will have an extremely portable tool to use no matter where they are in the world. So here, I like to conclude because there are slides. Here, my teaching experience I have given, what have I understood, what does reflection means, what should be processed, that is we can use brainstorming, webbing, outlining, relating, targeting, and revisiting. What did I expect from my students? How do I know how it happened? What are to be modified? How am I to go with that? Then teacher portfolio development framework always have learning portfolio, that is reflections, documentation, and mentoring. It goes hand in hand. And finally, you have your learning. It has collaboration, documentation, and reflection. And here I have given how to plan. And this is according to structuring, developing, designing, and then activating, how to activate, monitoring, reconstructing, and reflecting, developing. And action highlights, it has discussions, teacher lecture, students, that is every class has teacher lecture, discussions, students writing a journal, reading resources, reading and reflecting, peer interactions, and teacher-student interactions. And online reflective practice have teamwork, presentation, interaction, documenting portfolio as well as reflections in action, on action, online internship. I have done internship also using reflective practice. And this one, I tell you, this is an evaluation assessment sheet. on the presentations, content, PPT development, presentation, reflection, and what are the indicators? Have they given references? Is the content rich, relevant? And the selection of matter, PPT, organization of slide, sequence, visual, mastery, whether the presentation they have. Sir, I'm coming. I'm coming. Just, I'm about to close the session. Huh? Okay, sir, I'm coming. I'm coming. Okay, sir. I am coming, sir. Hello. Yeah, I'm coming. I'm closing and coming. Okay, thank you. And thank you, presenters. Here I have to go. I have another duty of the university. I believe that you have understood. Sorry, I am unable to elaborate it.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your wonderful presentation and also your valuable insight on outcome-based curriculum. And you have clearly explained about what NEP 2020 talks about cognitive development and individual development and also building a character. Thank you, ma'am. It was an amazing session, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma, for the opportunity. Now I'm about.
Thank you very much, madam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And you give me the feedback, please. Okay. Thank you. Jiva.
Dear participants,
Jiva.
Is there any queries? Kindly put it in the chat box.
Share the feedback form.
Thank you, participants. Kindly fill it in the attendance link in the chat box. Kindly join the second session at 2 o'clock. Thank you once again.
Sangam, you say the vote of thanks.
I would like to invite Dr. A. Tangam, Assistant Professor, Dr. MGR Education Research Institute, to propose vote of thanks.
Gratitude is a quality similar to electricity. It must be produced and discharged and used up in order to exist at all. Good afternoon to one and all present here. For second day, first session of 5-day International Online Faculty Development Program on Outcome-Based Education. On behalf of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, in association with Faculty of Education and Academic Staff College, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, Chennai. With heartfelt bliss and privilege, we would like to express sincere gratitude to our resource person, Professor Dr. K. Chellamani, Dean, School of Education, Pondicherry University, Pondicherry, who shared her knowledge about core competencies and performance indicators. She made everyone to thoroughly understood the concept. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time with us today. And also we mention our deep sense of gratitude to all the executives, heads, professors, faculty members, research scholars from various states and countries. Teamwork is the secret that makes common people achieve common results. Last but not least, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our chief patrons, conveners, organizing secretaries, joint secretaries, technicians, teaching and non-teaching staff of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, and Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute for their encouragement and constant support. Once again, I extend my heartfelt thanks to each and everyone for joining with us today this virtual platform. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, participants, for your wonderful cooperation. Attendance link will be posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Again, the next session by 2 p.m. today. Kindly select feedback form tagged in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Those who fill the feedback form can leave the session. Thank you. Kindly join in afternoon session, which will be start at 2 p.m.